Hello, I'm Susan Rogers with McNair Dallas Law. I work with certified elder law attorney John McNair, and together we've put together this video series we're calling Verses. In this video series, we'll be talking about some of the programs, services, and terms related to retirement, elder law, and elder care that are often confusing. We invite you to like and subscribe to this video series and comment on other topics you'd like to see us cover. As a reminder, this video is a basic overview of the topic, and it doesn't constitute legal advice. So let's start with talking about some things in common between traditional Medicare and Medicare Advantage plans. So some things in common, both traditional Medicare and Advantage plans both provide health insurance with the same basic core benefits. They're both available to those who are 65 and older and some adults who have certain medical conditions or disabilities. Both cover pre-existing conditions. Both provide medical insurance and prescription drug coverage, and both are regulated by the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. Now, some things that are a little bit different between the two. Traditional Medicare, sometimes also called Original Medicare, is federally funded and it's run by the federal Medicare program. Medicare Advantage programs are also federally funded, but instead of being run by Medicare, they're run by private insurance companies. And so their plans are more similar to an HMO that you might have through employment. Another difference with traditional Medicare, you choose your coverage as you would from a buffet. And we'll talk about that in a moment. You have Part A, you have Part B, you have Part D, the prescription drug coverage. So you pick and choose different plans as you would from a buffet. For Medicare Advantage, everything's bundled together. So you're choosing coverage as you would from a fixed menu where you have your entree and your sides all come together. Another difference is networks and pre-authorization. With traditional or original Medicare, there are no networks. Most providers do accept Medicare, and there's no pre-authorization or pre-certification required. With Medicare Advantage plans, most plans do have networks, and so your coverage may be limited to providers that participate in that network. And if you go outside the network, there may be limited or no coverage outside. Pre-authorization is also usually required for many services with Advantage plans. Now, there's a lot of misconceptions about traditional or original Medicare and about Advantage plans. Probably the biggest misconception about traditional Medicare is that it can be hard to find a doctor who accepts Medicare patients. But according to Kaiser Health, actually 99% of doctors accept Medicare, and 83% of primary care physicians are accepting new Medicare patients. So that's just a misconception that isn't true. In terms of Medicare Advantage plans, one major misconception is that all Advantage plans are less expensive than traditional or original Medicare. But in actuality, some Advantage plans do have lower premiums and lower costs, but others are the same cost or even higher. The way coverage works is different between traditional Medicare and Medicare Advantage. Traditional Medicare, since it's run by the federal Medicare program, have the same benefits nationwide. So if you're someone who does a lot of traveling, then this may be a better plan for you because no matter where you go nationwide, your benefits are going to be accepted and the benefits will be the same. With Medicare Advantage plans, they are usually geographically based. So when you're selecting a plan, you enter your zip code and it will list all the plans that are available for you in your area. Now, some of those plans may have a benefit for nationwide coverage, but most of them are limited either to your county or your region or your state. But in some way, there is a geographic boundary to where those benefits take place. So that's something to look at if you are someone who does enjoy traveling. You want to be sure that if you go out of state, that you're going to still have coverage in case something happens. Now, neither traditional Medicare nor Medicare Advantage plans cover international travel if you're injured while you're traveling out of the country. Original Medicare covers most medically necessary services and supplies in hospitals, doctors' offices, and other healthcare settings, including even some in-home healthcare. Medicare Advantage plans, they cover that same core set of services and supplies, and they cover it in the same settings, but they may also cover additional care like vision care, hearing aids, dental services, or even wellness programs like a gym membership, a walking club, those type of things. With traditional Medicare, you have your medical insurance. You have Part A that covers hospitalization and related services. Part B covers your physician office visits, outpatient services, some in-home care, and then you have Part D covering prescriptions. And you make choices for each of those programs. With Medicare Advantage programs, that's called Medicare Part C, and that includes everything. It's bundled. So that includes your hospitalization, your physician's offices, outpatient services, and prescriptions. The way the costs work are different too, the way you will be billed. So if you're enrolled in traditional or original Medicare, you pay a monthly premium, and then for most covered services, you pay a copay of 20%. So Medicare pays 80% of the cost, the remaining 20% you would pay out of pocket. Now, there is no out of pocket maximum for traditional or original Medicare. So you may think, oh, just paying a 20% copay, that seems reasonable. However, if you're thinking about hospitalization, which may cost tens or even $100,000, 20% copay can really add up. With Medicare Advantage plans, you still probably will have a monthly premium. Again, it could be less than or it could be more than what you would pay with traditional Medicare. And then most plans have an annual deductible also. And then your copay would be sometimes 10 to 20% of a copay on approved care and services. But remember, there's the network. So that would have to be with an in-network provider. With traditional Medicare, there is some coverage for a qualifying stay for recovery after a hospitalization. That could be in a rehab hospital, it could be in a skilled nursing facility, it could be at home with in-home care. But there is some coverage for physical therapy, wound care, skilled nursing services, that like. For long-term care, traditional Medicare does not have any benefit that pays for long-term care in any setting. So not long-term care at home, not long-term care in assisted living, and not long-term care in a nursing home. The same thing with Medicare Advantage. Medicare Advantage also does not have coverage for long-term care in any setting. And then in terms of rehabilitation, Medicare Advantage plans will have some coverage for qualifying short-term stay in a rehab facility, a rehab hospital, a skilled nursing facility. But again, you're going to need pre-authorization for that, and it would have to be in an in-network facility. With traditional Medicare, some of the advantages to traditional or original Medicare are that it is accepted nationwide. Your benefits are always the same no matter where you go. There are no networks and no pre-authorization is required. Remember, we talked about that 20% copay. Now, you have the option of purchasing what's called a supplemental plan or a Medigap plan, and that policy covers that 20% copay. It also can have benefits that cover your premium or your deductible as well. There are different Medigap plans to choose from, and we're actually going to cover these in another future video. Usually, traditional or original Medicare ends up being the most comprehensive coverage when you're sick. If you have multiple diagnoses, if you're in and out of the hospital, if you need really that higher level of care, a lot of times traditional Medicare will end up being the better option. Medicare Advantage plans tend to be maybe better options for people who are more healthy and active. They tend to have more wellness type programs, and so that can really be appealing. Like we said, it may have a lower premium with a Medicare Advantage plan, and there also may be coverage for procedures or services that are not covered by traditional Medicare. It also can be an advantage that your coverage is bundled. You don't have to worry about all those different choosing the supplement, choosing which prescription plan. There, you don't have to worry about all that because it is all bundled together. And the other great advantage of Medicare Advantage plans are that they do often have an out-of-pocket maximum, meaning you would pay your premium, you would pay your deductible, your plan would cover with your copay, they would pay 80 to 90% of the cost of care, you would pay the copay of 10 to 20%, but then they would have a maximum amount that they would expect you to pay out of pocket. So for example, if your out-of-pocket maximum was $10,000 a year, as soon as you reached $10,000 of out-of-pocket expenses, the insurance at that point would then pay 100% of the cost. And that's a major difference between Medicare Advantage plans and traditional Medicare. So, some disadvantages of each. With traditional Medicare, it doesn't cover dental, vision, or hearing aids, and those are really big expenses for a lot of people. There is no out-of-pocket maximum like we just talked about. And then having a separate enrollment for Parts A, Part B, Part D, and a supplemental plan, it might be confusing and just too much to manage. With Medicare Advantage plans, a disadvantage may be that you have limited coverage out of your local area. You may have limited coverage or no coverage for out-of-network providers. You will have to, for most services, have pre-authorization or have pre-approval for services or care that you need. And there's a possibility that that could delay or limit care depending on how efficient your care providers are in getting that authorization. You also may have a more limited selection of providers because you can only go with those who are in network if you want your insurance to pay. So you may be asking, which one is right for me? And that's really a personal decision based on your specific needs, your health, what diagnoses you have, your genetic factors, your lifestyle factors, your budget. There's a lot that goes into it. There is help out there if you aren't quite sure which to choose. There are some nonprofit organizations, like here in Dallas, we have the Senior Source. There's also the Area Agency on Aging that can do benefits counseling and help you weigh the pros and cons to each plan according to your own particular needs. You can also go to cms.gov, which is the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. They have some great information there. Or at medicare.gov, you can enroll with mymedicare.gov and get more details about the specific plans and options that are available in your area. You also can reach out to us. You can learn more about this topic and other elder law and estate planning topics on our website, which is www.mcnair-dallaslaw.com. We hope this information's been helpful for you, and if it has, please give us a thumbs up and click subscribe so you'll be notified when additional videos in this Versus series are published. There's no time like the present to make sure your estate planning's up to date and includes everything you need to ensure that your wishes are followed. So book a call at McNair-dallaslaw.com today. And thank you for joining us for Verses. See you next time.